a rich man's world. I have turned the soul of this beautiful land, but that beauty.
Yeah, we gotta get that part too, where you just get that by remote, so you can already be sitting down. Baby steps.
Yeah, baby. How the Tory thing turn out? That's what's up. Get started.
Like too many posts in a row, it looks like a robot, like in all these posts, so they'll restrict you.
It's still on, ain't it? Oh man, you freaking piece of. Boy, I'll tell you.
Wow.
Is it still live?
Let me see. Yeah.
Boy, I tell you, boy. I tell you, Facebook is a mess, man. It's a beast. They don't want you spreading no type of content. What the heck?
My God.
Well, I tell you, I'm just fighting with this thing today.
All right, Mike's is hot.
I got that crooked.
Just don't touch it.
I'll tell you, man. Okay. Sorry. It's been a rough day ever since we've been moving to new locations, and it's just like it's like everything been going wrong. Facebook tripping with us, with me, as I say, it's been beating up on me today. But I want to say welcome to the We Us and Irish podcast. I am your host, Michael Phelps from the We Us and Irish Community Group. As I always state, that we are a communicational group. We're a group about information, and we talk about the problems as well as we try to give a solution, and as well as what we can do as a collective. But I'm gonna let the Kings introduce themselves. One of y'all want to go first?
Michael Barnes again. You guys know me. I'm a designer, entrepreneur, and teacher. Right now, the thing I'm teaching is a lot of finance and credit stuff, things in that lane.
Okay. This is my beloved cousin, and I'm gonna let him introduce himself and things he's doing and what you got going in with your ministry and everything, or whatever you wanna share.
Yeah. Greetings, I pastor church here in Omaha, First Ministry. just it's kind of like being here today to continue to support the community and,
Yes, sir.
and things that are going to help the community. So hope I'm able to be a part of that today.
Alrighty. Um, in today's topic, we're talking about how do us men hold each other accountable when we're dealing with um, many issues within our community. Um, we're we got a lot of things, like a lot of time when we talk about men and we talk about holding each other accountable. What did that look like? So, but I want to say, but the topic, some of the questions I impose, I'm gonna go one by one. So we're just gonna ask them one by one. Is that okay with y'all?
Yeah.
Okay. My first question was, when there is disrespect within our community, or when we see one of our men disrespecting the mothers and the elders, how do we deal with that? Um, how should we deal with it? How impactful that is when we dealing with the learning the respect.
I think there's a lot of talk nowadays about what's old and what's old versus new. So the first thing I want to say is that just because something is older, some way that we used to do things um, is older, that doesn't mean it's bad inherently. And so in a scenario like that, I mean, naturally, what we used to do is we used to just step in. Um, we used to just step in. We would at least be the voice of authority in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that people think now that because that was an older method that somehow it's like bad, but it's not. It's actually the best thing to do. It's still the best thing to do. That's what's missing, the male's voice in the house for a lot of these houses. 80% of black people is born into single parent homes. So what's missing in most of them cases? The father's voice. So I think the best thing to do in a situation like that is at least speak up. And then if it requires you to do anything more, then actually step in.
So what is your opinion?
I guess my thought on it is that before you can have a voice, you must have influence. And I think what's missing, um, and I kind of hit on it already, and that was the voice is missing, but I would say that the relationship is missing.
Okay.
These days, particularly these days, our young people don't respect adults because adults don't respect themselves.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And if you're not a proper role model, how are you going to tell them not to do something that you do?
Ooh.
You got to first lay the foundation. And so when you got, and let's say an absentee dad coming in, or an absentee someone who hasn't been there coming in and trying to bark orders, they look at you like you're crazy because you haven't put no time in. You haven't put in no rest time. So therefore, they're like, how are you going to come in and tell me when you haven't been here?
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes good sense, because we see that a lot in the community. They always say that the OGs are scared to talk to the young G's because the influence is not there anymore. They haven't been impactful in them children's life, or they're not even active in them children's life. So to come out and and use OG status without proper representation or proper guidance or those proper teachings, or even having laid down a positive foundation, it's going to be hard to reach them. And if you are trying to reach them, it's going to take some time, because we see in our communities now that a lot of the young kids they don't even respect their mothers, even though they've been raised in the same household with their mothers. Um, we were strict rules when we was growing up. We didn't have no fathers, but we had mothers that was strong, as far as strong will, and the whole community worked together. And the elders demanded their respect. They made us say yes sir, no sir. That was one of the I think that was one of the most influential things that we ever could do, because it made us, when we walked up to an elder, we knew that we had to respect him by the choices of words we used. Yes sir, no sir. Yes ma'am, no ma'am. That was when you realize those words, you knew that they was authority over you. They was, or not even such much of authority, but they earned certain type of stripes that you had to give them some type of, you know, righteous or passes. I think that we lost that. What do y'all think?
I don't think we lost it. I just think that it's there's a pile of shit on top of it. There's so much crap going on that people are more excited about that they're not really paying attention to the fundamentals that's hidden underneath it, because it's still there. We still have kind of a cultural like silent agreement amongst each other, right? This is how we still to this day you'll still get the heckler, the black heckler. Come on, man, you know you can give me you can do this. That's a part of that old understanding that we used to have back in the day. That was just more obvious. Right now, you just got so much crap piled. You got social media piled on top of it. You got he said, she said, because of social media piled on top of it, and you got all these things about money and celebrities, and it's just right here. But in terms of our foundational principle system, it's still there. We just got a lot of crap piled on top of it. That's what I think.
What's your thought?
Well, I believe that the foundation. I believe that people have knowledge of foundation, but they lack the understanding of the foundation.
Comprehension of it.
It's one thing to know. We know a lot of things, but do we understand what it is that we say that we know? And when you don't know how to apply, it's like knowing how to cross the street. Okay, well, you know how to cross the street because you're taught that from a young child, how to cross the street, how to look both ways. But then, how do you take that, what you have been taught since you were a child, and apply that to life? And know how to look both ways when it comes to mom's boyfriend coming to the front door as a young lady. Knowing how to conduct yourself in the school environment, how to dress, how to carry yourself, how to be respectful, how to have respect for yourself. Because again, it's still requiring you to look both ways. It's still requiring you to look around. It's still requiring you to have a deeper understanding of who you are. Because when you know who you are, then you know who you're not. But oftentimes, the biggest struggle that people have is that they don't know who they are. They're trying to figure out who they are, but they're allowing other people to dictate who they are. So therefore, they deny who they truly are by allowing somebody else to dictate who they are. So as long as you allow somebody to dictate who you are, then that foundation, even though you know it, you don't know how to apply it. So in reality, you truly don't know how to walk. You truly don't know how to cross the street. You still need somebody to hold your hand because you're lacking understanding, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you could still, you can. It's like the difference between being a bookworm and a street smart person, basically. You know, you can know all the stuff that you want to know, but if you've never really applied it, you still don't really know what you're talking about. You got a lot of stuff committed to memory, but you haven't exercised the muscle yourself to make yourself stronger. So yeah, I understand that fully.
Okay, well, I want to go to the second one I got here. My second question I posed was how do we hold men accountable as men, and we know men are married versus single, and we know that men are cheating on their wives, and since we want to get out and hang out so bad that we allow a man to hang out amongst us, knowing that he's a married man and he's out cheating on his wife. How do we hold him accountable? Because that's one of the breakdowns of the family.
Ooh, how do men hold other men accountable who are cheaters?
Or cheating on their wife or disrespecting her, and and we trying to cover up for them, but we talk about the breakdown in our community. There's a lot of those issues because a lot of men and a lot of women have accepted bad behavior amongst each other. How do we hold each other accountable in that?
Oh shoot, there's in relationship, like in that particular arena, if you got good friends around you, they're gonna pull you to the side and say, bro, you fucking up big time right now. Especially if you really got a good woman. One of your men around you in your circle will pull you to the side and say, are you sure? But say that say that they're not there, then the women also hold the male accountable too. They punish the male for bad behavior. And I think that's stemming from our tribal behavior back in before what we call civilization right now. But women hold the males accountable. They also are the ones that set the rules up for how to interact with the women, right, in the tribe. So if you got good friends in your circle, one of your guys is going to pull you to the side and ask you some questions. And if that guy happens to be me, I'm not just going to ask you questions. I'm going to educate you on the consequences of your actions. You will lose. If you're married, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose. If you're not married, you're still gonna lose because you might be mistreating the woman that, especially if she's doing the most for you to make sure you're comfortable and happy and stuff like that. If she's making your house smell good and look better and more comfortable, and then you're cheating on her, you're probably fucking up big time. But and I'll just educate you on what happens to dudes who do what you're doing. Other than that, yeah.
Well, and I always say, me, growing up, we always gave homage. We paid homage to the uncles that took us around with them while they was cheating on their wives. They always tell, oh man, you need to keep your couple on the side. You know what I mean? And he paying for a house over here, paying for a house over there. But then he was always broke. Always complaining about how much money he's spending. Um, and and you ask yourself, you like, who educated him to think that way? What made him thought that that's the best way? I'm not saying that relationships, has always been perfect. But how you gonna make a perfect relationship in an imperfect world with an imperfect person who thinks imperfectly?
I kind of think that be we should be identifying the different most successful models for a relationship because it could be successful that way for him, right? But because a monogamous 1-2 relationship doesn't work for everybody. It works for about 80% of the people walking around the planet, but that other 20%, a lot of the times they've been influenced by, or the 80%, part of the 80% has been influenced by the other 20%, the remaining 20%, who's doing the polygamy or who's doing pseudo polygamy, right? Promiscuous dating and things like that. They're influencing part of the 80. Well, the 80, if they just came to terms with the idea that, hey, it's probably going to work best for me to have one woman, to build one thing, have one family. But like you said, he's been watching his uncle go out, have a bunch of fun, spend a bunch of money. He might be part of the 20%. That might be what works for him. So I think maybe we should identify like maybe the top 3, top 5 relationship models that are literally really there. And let's stop acting like monogamous 1-2 relationship is the only one size fit all.
No, I will agree with that if that communication base was there, if that's what the relationship was based off of. But if you went into the relationship saying that I do, and you're the only one I want to be with, then that takes you out of that gyro. You gotta have a
You
focus.
said what you said.
Yeah, you're in a focus point where you said this is the only person you are committed to.
Yeah.
Now, if you came in and said, "Hey, I'm married to you, but I have mistresses," and a woman accept that, or a man or whatever accept that, then that communication base is there. So therefore, you can't hold nobody accountable. You can't hold nobody and hold somebody to the fire or condemn somebody on that.
Don't you think? But can I ask you? Don't you think it would be? It would make it more, I guess, practical to have 1, 2, 3. Here's this type of relationship, this type of relationship, this type of relationship. 10-year-old guy. Well, I don't know what that is. I ain't gonna worry about that now. But now you got these models. And when it comes time for you to make a serious choice, 18, 19, 20, or whatever, a serious choice in your partner, your relationship person, then you'll remember. You'll get a flashback. Hey, you know what? I'm not ready for a relationship, but I really love women. I'm probably fitting into the third box. I'm probably fitting into that third model right now. Or maybe when I get older, I'll fit into box number one, and I really only want one. Because a lot of us, that happens. From 18 years old to like 30 is a haze. But then 30, everybody got all beat up and damaged and stuff. And now they know they want to go and just be with one person. But if they had the understanding that, okay, that's a successful model, I want that model. I don't know. I think that'd be like a, what do you call it, telegraph.
What'd you think?
From listening to the both of you guys speak, I guess my take on it is this: when it comes to a relationship, a person has to know what their standard is. Everybody in a relationship needs to know they need to enter that relationship or um, uh, assess that relationship based on a standard. What are your expectations when you talk about getting into a relationship, and what does a relationship mean to you? What does a relationship not mean to you? You first have to determine whether or not you even agree on what a relationship is. Once you come to a determination that you agree with what a relationship is, now we're talking about standards. Okay, that requires discussion, that requires watching, that requires time. That's what dating's for. Dating before you even get to a point of marriage is an opportunity for you to assess the person, assess the relationship to figure out if it even works for you. It means that you have to pay a whole lot of attention to the things that they say, even the things that they don't say. It means that you have to spend less time giving them the 411 on your old relationship and figure out who they are and they find out who you are. That means that when you're going out on dates restaurants or wherever you go, the time you spend together, that means you have to spend a whole lot of time listening and not just hearing, but listening. You might, I tell people all the time, oftentimes people hear because they got two ears on the side of their head, but they don't listen. Listening requires a different, when you listen, listening requires a person to hear with the point of understanding, to understand what the other person's putting down, what the other person's trying to communicate, whether that be verbally, non-verbally, whatever the case may be. But you have to be in the arena, actually paying attention, learning as you're going along. But if you've made up in your mind that you want this person no matter what because they're attractive, oftentimes that is what damages that's where relationships, that's where misunderstandings enter because you're too busy looking on the outside of the box. You never took the time to go to look in the box to see what's actually in the box. So you miss all the love, you miss all the baggage, you miss all the dirty laundry. You miss the bad attitude. You miss the back talk. You miss the fact that he's lazy. You miss all of that because you've been made up in your mind. You want them no matter what, but then once you make that commitment, then all of a sudden here comes the requirements. I require you to do this. I require you to do that. How come you don't do this? How come you do that? Well, I never did that. So why are you asking me to do that now? Because I never did that. You see what I'm saying? You require, you want her to look a certain way, but she never looked that way. So now all of a sudden you want her to look a particular way. So that means you got to pay real close attention to how they conduct themselves in the first place, and that will kind of give you a view. It's almost like when you think about when the FBI does a background check on you. They do a background check on your history. They go back to your first grade teacher, second grade teacher, whatever it can be. They do a thorough background check on you because they say your past is a view into your future. And so the more you learn about a person, when you learn about how they treated others, when you pay attention to how they treat the wait staff, all those kind of things, all those things are indicators that teach you something about them. But if you're spending too much time in the bedroom and not enough time talking, not enough time listening, not enough time communicating, then you're missing all the important flags that would have told you who the person was. If that makes sense.
That's some of the information that doesn't get I was just having that conversation the other day with somebody, and that is some of the information that doesn't get transferred to the next generation, so that then they're doomed to fail from the same things that we got messed up with. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, dang, how do you do that? How do you transfer that information early enough into the generation coming up after us, into their life, so that they can make different decisions? Because like a lot of us get in relationships between age 15 and 20. And some of those may be lifelong. Some of those is like mine. Mine was 13 years out of high school. So how would you have gotten to me with that information at age 14, 15? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, that requires a foundation. The thing is that we've all come from backgrounds with broken foundations. So we come from a background of a broken foundation. Like you said, we had uncles that would take us out and about, and they take us to this woman's house, and then take us to the next girlfriend's house, and take us to the next girlfriend's house. You know, well, I mean, we saw they exposed us to a lot of things, and the thing is that what a lot of adults don't understand is that children are entrusted to you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And when they're entrusted to you, that means you have a responsibility to them to show them the right way. Not show them your way, but show them the right way. Not show them the way you feel. You know, just because you're disgruntled, angry, resentful, unforgiving, then so you mothers, fathers alike pass that down to their sons, pass that down to their daughters. Then you wonder why their relationships end up the same way your relationship was, because you're teaching them the same hate that you had.
Yeah.
But so where there's no healing for you, then you're sick. And it's like being in you know what happens when you're in a room with a sick person? Everybody gets sick. Okay. So the question, to answer that question, how do you get the necessary help that you need to get so that you don't pass that down to the next generation, then that gets passed down to the next generation, that gets passed down to the next generation, because just like good habits can be passed along from generation to generation, but so can bad habits.
Yeah, right.
You know, it brings to mind a saying, and I forgot who said it, but it says the chains of habit so lightly felt until they be too hard to break. Until they become too hard to break. It's like you establish a chain of habits in a culture, in a family. Yeah. And until somebody says, look, I don't want to drink from the same glass as you. Will you go get me a cup? That's the person that everybody makes fun of because they ask for a different glass.
Oh yeah, you get hated.
Right? Wait a minute, how come you're not like us? Well, I don't want to be like you. I want something different. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That takes an individual, someone who has their own mind, to say, I don't know what I want, but I know I don't want that.
Yeah, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. You know, and another thing to add to that, you know, is that when we're dealing with hurt people, especially hurt men and hurt women, hurt adults, I would say, because this show is about adults raising children, and we're trying to fix the family. So in these processes of men going around cheating on their wives, the reason why, and when they cheat, they forget they hurt somebody,
right?
Because you become selfish. Selfless is supposed to be what we're supposed to be, not selfish. We're supposed to be selfless. So if you have a problem with something, you don't just go out and do something because you have the right to do, because you have free will to do that. Because the reality is that you're still you're stringing someone along, and you got someone believing that you're 100% when you're not even 26%.
Well, to add to that, what you're saying, which makes perfect sense, you're robbing somebody of an opportunity to make a choice.
Exactly.
You have a choice, they have a choice, but you owe it to them to let them know where you are.
Yes.
Then that way they can decide whether they want to stay and be a part or not be a part. You don't get to make a choice for them. They say, well, I want to hide this from you. I'm going to continue to engage in this and make you think that I'm loyal to you, but in reality, I'm not loyal to you.
Right.
Now you're robbing them. So then you look them in the face and you say you love them. Well, how can you love somebody that you're robbing at the same time? You're sticking both your hands in both their pockets and taking all the contents out, but now you're looking them in the face.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
I love you though.
And that's what cheating does.
That's what cheating is.
That's what cheating is. It's robbing somebody, and the same thing with cheating is it incarcerates other people.
Yes, it does.
It puts people in a prison because what you're doing, you're linking them over here. You keeping this woman in this house because she don't go out in a community like you do. So she's stuck in the house while you out here doing your dirt.
Well, then
there's always a point where
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, there was always a point in a conversation like this where I stopped being able to comprehend why that's necessary. Why is the cheating necessary? It's the wrong perspective to be thinking about it, but I just
everybody's not
always
fulfilled. some people just not always. Some people just not fulfilled.
Well, what worded purposefully? Why
Cheating
is
ain't always sex too. Remember that.
why is that why is that necessary?
Why is cheating necessary?
Yeah, why is that necessary?
Because they lack.
Because you look at it this way. Some people truly believe that I should be able to have my cake and eat it too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I should be able to have you at home, locked down, and I should be able to go out and do what I want to do because I'm a free agent. But see, that's not a relationship, because the reality is that when you enter an agreement with someone, you're no longer a free agent.
Yeah, that's a
Meaning
social
that's a contract.
Yeah, it's a contract.
Okay,
That's right.
So you have to honor the contract.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no, you no longer a single person has freedom. A married person doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about when you talk about. So then I think about it this way: when you talk about married people hanging out with single people, I would say that you don't even think the same.
Yeah.
You're not even on the same. You're not even on the same wavelength, because a single person has a right to go out and say, "Ooh, look at this, look at that. She's looking at this, he's looking at that." They're single, but a married person can't go out with that same mindset, talking about, "Ooh, look at this, ooh, look at that." Wait a minute, you got something at home that you're supposed to be committed to. So why are you even kicking it with the single people?
Exactly.
That's the real question right there. Is why are you still kicking it with the single people?
Man.
And you know, and the funny part is that when we talk about cheating, we always got to remember cheating ain't always sexual.
No.
So even if your uncle was taking money from this household and feeding another household, he's cheating over here. Mm-hmm. He's robbing Peter to pay Paul over here. So that is another way of saying, "Hey, dang, uncle, why would you want to take from over here, from your children over here, to go feed another woman over here? Because you desire her and you feel like that's the way to keep her." What do we do with? How do we talk to people like that?
How do you talk to
a grown man
who's doing that?
And it affects our community, because if he's doing it, he's somewhere down the line. Like you said, the children are paying attention. The children knows it. They sense it. Right. They sense that, and they sense mama ain't happy.
Right. Well, if he's willing to listen, because that's like the first. If he's cheating, he probably ain't willing to listen anyway, because he's already coloring outside the lines of the box. You know.
But then you ask yourself, if you're a true friend, why are you covering for him?
Yeah, right.
Because the thing is that you have a choice too. They have a choice to cheat, and you have a choice whether or not you're gonna cover. Mm-hmm. So what kind of friend are you gonna be? You're gonna be a friend that actually hold them accountable, or are you gonna be a friend that stand by and say, "Well, that don't have nothing to do with me. He can cheat all he wants. That's not my business." Okay, but yet you call those their kids, your nieces and nephews.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You said, "Oh, I'm like an uncle to them." Well, how are you being an uncle to them when you're helping their dad cheat on their mom?
Yeah, destroy their family right there.
You're helping destroy their family, but yet you're an uncle to them. What kind of uncle are you?
Yeah.
You have to really ask yourself. Mm-hmm. What kind of role model are you? You really have to ask yourself.
That's interesting.
These are hard questions that, as men, don't ask ourselves. Because we think, oh well, what they don't know won't hurt. Oh, but guess what? When they find out the damage that it does to the relationship that they thought they had with you.
I'm actually asking myself questions right now. Like, have I ever? I think I might have covered for my cousin one time when we was teenagers, but I don't think I've had a guy in my circle that's like that since then.
Well, I had, growing up, me.
Maybe I'm missing somebody. But
well, it's funny because there's one passage in the Bible I always like when Paul said, when I was a child, I behaved as such, I spake as such, I did as such. But when I became a man, even as me being a child at that time, there was things that I done that I regret to this day as a man and as an adult. I'd cover for guys that did stupid stuff like that. I seen a guy had a good woman. I had a whole bunch of friends that had good women, and they ruined them. None of the women out here, some of them got strung out. Some of them are very promiscuous. Some of them are just got this cold-hearted mindset about what a relationship is. They don't want a relationship because they've been hurt so bad. And I'll contribute to that. I got blood on my hands for some of that, some of the way they thinking, because I contribute some of those bad behaviors. But there's time when I did try to talk to them too. But did I really talk to him, or did I just really just say something? I might have just said something, but I probably didn't really have that talk with him. But we all make mistakes and made mistakes growing up, and some of the choices we did. So I don't want this. So I just want to put me. I want to put myself in there to show you that I was a victim of that at one point in time. Either I was on the side of cheating, or on the side of like watching a friend cheat and not saying something. So either way it goes, I was on both sides. So that's why these topics came up, because I always think about how much damage I done in someone's life, in my children's life, or whatever. It's always one of those things we always got to take inventory of ourselves. But I want to go into number 3. So what do we do? Our same friends who's cheating probably got caught cheating, and his wife is upset. She's going off on him, and then the next phase of action comes. What will we do when a man starts to put his hands on his woman because she don't want to leave? She wants to leave him, or he's jealous now that she decides she wants to start going out with a friend, or he wants to control her. What do we do about men that's putting their hands on our women?
Ooh, that's interesting too, because it insinuates that it insinuates that you can stop all domestic violence, and you can't.
Mm-hmm.
It's just impossible. A large portion of it is education,
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it's domestic. It's usually emotional stuff. So you can educate that man on how to handle his emotional competencies. If you know he's childish, if you know that he's pretty much adolescent in his understanding of his own emotional. You remember that car example I give you all the time? If you are a car, the body is your body. Wheels, tires, paint, all that. The engine is the heart of a car. The computer is the mind of a car. And you are the spirit of the car. You're the director, the driver, right? So you're the one with the discernment. A lot of us don't look underneath the hood, right? So we can't tell emotionally if we got 4-banger, 6-cylinder, 8, 12, 16. We don't know when to change the oil. Look how intricate that is. You don't know if you need a new alternator, a new starter. You don't know if you just need some wiper fluid, and you can just keep on going. You see what I'm saying? It's wild like that. So in terms of emotional competency as it pertains to domestic violence situations, a lot of it is just it's education. It's those competencies emotionally. Anger ain't the same thing. Being angry ain't the same thing as being infuriated. Those is different. And what do you do with each one of those? You can still go for a walk if you're angry, but if you're infuriated, that's out of control anger. What if you just simply dislike something? You got a choice between disliking something and getting angry about it. You see what I'm saying? Same thing with the opposite side. Liking something and being happy with it. And there's a difference between being happy with something and being infatuated. Infatuation is like the same thing as being infuriated, but one's really happy and one's really not happy.
Well,
those are the competencies.
Before I give you the floor, I'm gonna tell you how these all go hand in hand, because I label those 3 so they all can go hand in hand. So the first one, remember I said when they disrespect their mothers and elders. Remember, a lot of men despise their mother in a small, minute way that they don't even know that they despise their mother for all the men they probably brought in their house, for all the things that happened to them when they was children. So therefore, it causes them to have this mentality for the men they seen coming in and out the house. So therefore, it causes them to want to be a cheater and kind of be a womanizer, or kind of type of men that's coming in and out their house. Then when they was getting upset when they seen their mom getting whooped on, beat up on, guess what? They start practicing the same behavior. See, all this is all behaviors stemming from the same issue.
Yeah,
The
like
lack
you
of
were saying.
respect,
Like
the
you were
lack
saying.
of respect, the lack of understanding, the lack of commitment and consistency, and the lack of communication passed down from elders down to the youth. All that plays a role on how our children, how we respond to things. Now, I'm gonna give you the floor back to the conversation on when they putting their hands on women.
Well, I mean, a lot of times, what when it comes to de-escalating situations, um, that's where the breakdown is.
Mm-hmm.
The breakdown is in the failure to de-escalate. Um, there's always a stimulus before you get to the infuriation stage. There's always a stimulus. There's always a change in behavior. There's always you have to pay attention to your person. You have to read a person when you can see that they're going from one level to the next. As soon as you see that change in behavior, that is the time to address it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is the time. It's not, and you know, whether it be a woman, a man, whatever the case may be, that is not the time to be sarcastic. That is not the time to enter name calling.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely not the time to shut a person out, because when people are communicating, that's a good thing. You want to know where they are.
Yeah.
In order to truly find someone. Someone will call you in the middle of the night and say, "Hey, I need you to come pick me up from Burger King." You're like, "What Burger King?" Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Burger King, there's so many Burger Kings, which one do I go to? But if a person says, "Hey, I need you to pick me up from the Burger King, I know located at 120 the center," now I know exactly where you're at. That's communication.
Yeah.
Communication requires that you not only hear the person, but that you listen to the person and understand where they're coming from, know exactly where they are, so you know where they're going to get them from. But if you allow their lack of communication, their failure to communicate, to cause you to fail to communicate and refuse to communicate and engage in the same behavior that they're engaging in, now you've got a situation that's chaotic and out of control.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the person who's on the receiving end has a choice to make, because one thing we know about ourselves is true, which is true for all of us, is that what they call sense of agency, we all have what's called control. We have control of ourselves. We don't never have control of another person.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. You
Yeah.
don't have control of that other man. You don't have control of that woman.
Yeah.
But you do have control of yourself.
Yeah.
You have a choice there. Everybody has a choice. Okay.
Yeah.
So then we have to decide, okay, what choice am I going to make? This is what I got. This is what I'm receiving from you. Now, what am I going to do with it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can decide to let you set me off. And we set it off of here, and now it becomes you see what I'm saying? Now we bang.
Yeah, now we're gonna do it.
You see what I mean? Or I could choose to de-escalate. If I listen to you well enough, I want to know what I want to know when I'm listening to you is what that stimulant is. That's what I want to know. What got you to that point?
Mm-hmm.
And then if I address the stimulant, okay, now I've kept you from going to that next level, because now I've addressed the stimulant. We immediately go over to de-escalation.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But if I don't address the stimulant and I let that stimulant continue to stick around, it's like two people who are at each other, and all it takes is to remove one from the room.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The emotions immediately go down for the other one.
Yeah.
Because you remove them out of each other's sight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But as long as that person's in the room, and if you pay attention, you look at a person, and while you're trying to talk to somebody, you ever, a couple that's at each other
coming out their ears.
and guess what? While you're trying to talk to them, their eyes keep darting over to the person that they're mad at.
Yeah.
They're not listening to you
because
the stimulant is still in the room.
Yeah.
But if you remove the stimulant, whether it be a child, whether it be a man, whether it be a wife, whoever it is, remove the stimulant. Why? Because sometimes that you need to.
Hello.
I do have someone coming in at 7.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Oh, let's pass 7. Sorry, our show was cut short because of our
we had a whole bunch of technical difficulties today.
We have to continue this one. I'd like for you to come back. We need to continue this. We need to finish this topic. I didn't get a chance to finish it. we will continue this topic next week. If everybody wants to come back and revisit this topic.
Sure. Sure.
So everybody want to give us the final thoughts. We can get out here because it's past 7.
I think I said my final thoughts already. Just revisit the part of the video where I was talking about the car.
Communication is key.
And I just want to say, we as an hours, thank you for business. Sorry for the delay. Sorry for the for our time. We will continue this. Hopefully everything works out smoother next time. All right.
Peace.
A rich man's world.